The Purpose of Life, Across Civilizations and Beliefs, by Chamchoum. Throughout history, human beings have asked one enduring question: what is the purpose of life? Why are we here? Is life meant for survival, service, happiness, enlightenment, or something beyond this world? Across civilizations, cultures, and belief systems, different answers have emerged, some centered on divine command, others on moral order, spiritual liberation, or human flourishing. This reflection presents how major traditions, in chronological order, have understood the purpose of human existence. It does not argue for one position over another. Rather, it invites thoughtful consideration of how humanity has approached this profound question. In ancient Mesopotamia, among Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians, human beings were believed to have been created by the gods. The primary purpose of life was to serve the divine powers and maintain cosmic order. Human existence was closely tied to ritual, obedience, and survival under divine authority. Life was not centered on individual fulfillment, but on sustaining the structure established by the gods. In ancient Egypt, life was understood through the concept of ma'at, harmony, balance, and moral order. The purpose of life was to live justly, uphold balance, and prepare for the afterlife. Earthly existence was a preparation for eternity. One's actions determined whether one would pass into a harmonious, eternal state. Life, therefore, was both moral responsibility and spiritual preparation. In Judaism, life is understood as a covenantal relationship between humanity and God. The purpose of life is to live according to divine law, to pursue justice, and to sanctify daily existence. Human beings are seen as created with dignity and responsibility. Life is not accidental, it is entrusted. Meaning arises through obedience, ethical conduct, and faithfulness to the covenant. In Hindu traditions, the purpose of life unfolds through several interconnected concepts: dharma, righteous duty; karma, action and consequence; moksha, liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Human existence is part of a vast cosmic cycle. The ultimate aim is spiritual liberation, freedom from ignorance and rebirth. Life is a journey toward transcendence. Buddhism begins with the recognition of suffering. The purpose of life is not obedience to a creator deity, but awakening, understanding the nature of suffering, and overcoming attachment. Through ethical living, meditation, and wisdom, one seeks enlightenment, known as nirvana. Life is an opportunity for awakening. In Christianity, life is understood as relational, rooted in love of God and love of neighbor. Human beings are seen as created with purpose and invited into salvation. The purpose of life is to respond to divine love, pursue moral transformation, and prepare for eternal communion with God. Life is both gift and calling. In Islam, the purpose of life is clearly articulated: to worship God and live in righteousness. Life is understood as a test and a trust. Human beings are accountable for their choices and actions. Meaning arises through submission to divine will, ethical conduct, and preparation for the hereafter. After exploring how major religious traditions have understood the purpose of life, the question did not disappear. Alongside sacred texts and civilizational worldviews, individual thinkers, philosophers, theologians, writers, and later psychologists began to examine the same question through reason, analysis, and personal reflection. Some worked within religious traditions. Others questioned them. Some sought harmony between faith and reason. Others proposed entirely new foundations for meaning. What follows presents several of the most influential thinkers, in chronological order, whose ideas have shaped how the modern world understands life's purpose. Aristotle, one of the most influential philosophers of antiquity, offered a systematic account of human purpose that would shape Western thought for centuries. For Aristotle, the purpose of life is eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or well-being. This flourishing is not achieved through pleasure alone, but through the cultivation of virtue and the disciplined use of reason. Human beings fulfill their purpose by living in accordance with their rational nature and developing moral excellence. Augustine of Hippo brought together classical philosophy and Christian theology in a deeply influential synthesis. In his writings, he observed that the human heart remains restless until it rests in God. For Augustine, the purpose of life is to love rightly, to direct one's deepest desires toward the eternal rather than the temporary. Meaning is found in spiritual alignment with God and in preparation for an eternal destiny beyond this world. Thomas Aquinas developed one of the most systematic theological frameworks of the medieval period, integrating Aristotelian philosophy into Christian doctrine. He taught that the ultimate purpose of human life is the beatific vision, the direct and complete knowledge of God. Earthly life, in this view, is a preparation for that final fulfillment. Human reason and divine revelation work together, guiding the soul toward its ultimate end. Immanuel Kant redirected the discussion of purpose toward moral autonomy and rational responsibility. He argued that the highest aim of life is not the pursuit of happiness alone, but the fulfillment of moral duty. Human beings possess intrinsic dignity because they are rational agents capable of acting according to universal moral law. For Kant, meaning is found in ethical action, grounded in principle rather than personal inclination. Friedrich Nietzsche challenged the idea of a divinely given or universally fixed purpose. In a period when traditional religious certainties were weakening, he argued that individuals must create their own meaning. For Nietzsche, life's purpose lies in self-overcoming, the continual transformation and strengthening of the self. Purpose is not something discovered in an external order. It is forged through personal will and creative power. Jean-Paul Sartre articulated one of the most influential expressions of modern existentialism. He famously declared that existence precedes essence, meaning that human beings are not born with a predetermined purpose. Instead, individuals define themselves through their choices. For Sartre, life has no fixed meaning imposed from outside. Purpose emerges from radical freedom and personal responsibility. Human beings are, in his words, condemned to be free. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, Frankl offered a deeply modern reflection. He argued that the primary human drive is not pleasure or power, but meaning. Even in suffering, life retains potential purpose. Meaning is found through responsibility, love, and the attitude one takes toward unavoidable hardship. Across civilizations and centuries, humanity has offered many answers to the purpose of life. Some see it in service to the divine, others in moral duty, spiritual liberation, love, or freedom. Philosophers speak of virtue, reason, or responsibility. The answers differ, yet most agree on one point. Human life carries significance. Whether purpose is given, discovered, or created, it remains central to how we understand ourselves. Perhaps the lasting importance lies not in one universal definition, but in the way each person chooses to live. The question remains, what gives your life direction, and how will you live it? And now a personal reflection. After exploring religious traditions and philosophical thought, I offer a more personal reflection. Through the varied experiences of life, moments of success, difficulty, and even wasted time, I have come to see purpose not as something abstract, but as something lived. For me, purpose lies in helping without expecting return, in leaving a positive mark rather than a burden, in contributing to family, to knowledge, to art, to writing, and to anything that uplifts humanity, to promote charity, love, and peace, to leave behind a space that is cleaner, kinder, and more meaningful than the one I entered. Perhaps purpose is not only about what we achieve, but about what remains after we are gone, in the lives we touched and the good we set in motion. Thank you for watching. What do you think about this video? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out my other videos by tapping on the elements shown on your screen, or go to my channel to explore more content.